student support, and we are going to start with Jeff for this question. What will you do to ensure that students with IEPs continue to receive the services and support they need in the face of potential budget cuts or policy changes? And how will you involve parents and students in the decisions about special education programs?
Yeah, thank you for this question. This is something that I alluded to earlier in the question about what would you do if you need to make budget cuts. We need to make clear as a board where our priorities are, what our values are. It's not just about cost, it's about values. Obviously, we're getting more and more students who have 504 plans or IEPs all the time. And so going forward, we need to make sure that we're not reacting to the increase in students or the increased needs. We need to make sure we're proactive. We need to look ahead and make sure we're recruiting those teachers. We used to have, I think, 4 ESC classrooms that were consolidated immersive. We're up to 9 now. There's ESC classrooms at Summit and Wilson now too. So the need keeps expanding. We need to make sure as a board that we are planning for it, recruiting for it, and budgeting for it. Was there a second part of the question?
The second part of it was how will you involve parents and students in decisions about special education programs?
Oh, sure. You know, as we've said before, we need to make sure, I see the sign, okay, sorry. I got 20 seconds. We need to make sure that we're working collaboratively with all the involved stakeholders. Parents need to have a seat at the table because they know what's best for their kids. You know, we need to work with them to develop programs and policies and make sure they're getting their adequate support we need. Just as simple as that.
Thank you. Jeremy.
Thank you. So ensuring students with IEPs that they receive the services that they're legally entitled to is extremely important, both for a school district, but for us as a community. Some of our students on IEPs, which includes one of my own daughters, are some of the students who need the most help. Making sure that they're getting that help via our professionals who we've hired, who are the experts in those fields, is something that we can't take away. It's something that I don't think, in terms of budgeting, that would be something that I would even consider putting on the table. As far as involving parents, we have a very, very strong special ed community here in Forest Hills. They will talk to you, they will let you know what they think, which is a great thing. It's up to us to listen to them. We need to make sure that we are receptive to the concerns that they have, receptive to the complaints that they have, and also to the successes. There are a lot of great success stories here for students with IEPs, and making sure that we continue to involve those families in any decisions we would have to make is super important. If it got to the point where we had to make decisions on cuts, those families would be the ones I would want to talk to first, and I would want to have those difficult conversations with them and really kind of figure out where could we make this work. And I'm not sure that we could, but and that would be a very difficult conversation, but that's the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Erin?
I think it's important to remember that we have legal obligations to provide education to everybody, including kids with special needs of all different kinds, including kids with IEPs and 504s and really across the board. And to me, that's one of the things that makes public school so special, is that we educate everyone, even when it's hard, even when it's expensive. And that's one of the things that I think makes public school unique, especially as compared with other types of school that's available. And you know, special education comes in a lot of different forms. When my daughter was in first grade, reading did not come naturally for her. And so she worked with a reading intervention specialist, and now 5 years later, she's off the charts. That's an example of a temporary need that was addressed by resources that Summit provided to her that were extremely effective. I have another member of my family who has Down syndrome and was on an IEP for a long time, and her outside of this district. And her education focused on workforce readiness and really being able to be a job holder after she graduated from high school. So those are the kind of things that are longer term. In terms of making sure that parents are involved, I think one of the things to do is to connect them to each other. You know, Jeremy mentioned we've got a good community here, but sometimes when this is new for you, you feel a little lost. And you're thinking like, gosh, am I the only one who's doing this? And what resources are available to me? And I think my son is the only one who has difficulty with X, Y, and Z. So really helping them connect with resources at the school and each other, I think, is the way to move forward.
Great, thank you. Forrest.
So we have an excellent special education program. Hats off to Betsy Ryan, who's a true lion in this. The board is we provide overall policy, but it's the people on the ground, our special education department, and their interaction with the parents and the students that really where it is. I don't think any of us here are IEP experts, and we're not supposed to be, but we need to make sure we have the people that can do that job in the positions to do the job. And it is extremely important and one of our strong points in our district, and we're not perfect, but we work hard at it. And that's where it is. So from a board perspective, I want to keep good people in those spots, people that I trust and have great education in that, far more than what we will ever have, and keeping the parents involved. So the parents I found in the IEPs tend to be very, you don't get an IEP if you don't care about your kids. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. So getting the parents connected with the educators and facilitating that from a 35,000 foot level is what the board needs to do.
Thank you. And Mark?
As you heard, this one's pretty near and dear to my heart. As a parent of a student who required full-time support, full-time mobility, full-time eating, full-time doing anything. Obviously, IEP, I wouldn't call myself an expert per se, but I've been filling them out for over 2 decades, so I'd like to think I understand what's going on. Honestly, it's one of the things that makes Forest Hills a destination district. People come here when they have kids who have problems. If you look at our IEP numbers over the last 5 years, they have grown exponentially. And some of that's because we do a better job as a human race identifying things more quickly than we ever had before. Some of that is simply because we are that good as a district at what we're doing. Obviously, I'm a huge advocate of IEPs. Like, when you talk about budget cuts, the students who need the most support are going to be the last students that I would ever recommend cut. Like, those students rely on, they need that support. So there's no way I would ever cut that. I think we do a great job as a district. We have an advocacy program here within the administration to reach out to folks, especially new parents who just came on IEPs, so that we help them because they don't necessarily know what they're getting into. I think we do a great job as a district. Betsy Ryan, who unfortunately just retired, did a great job of making sure she wasn't advocating always on behalf of the district. She was advocating on behalf of what's the most important thing we can do for that student.
Thank you.